to the Money Mentors Podcast.
This podcast is for you, so if you have a retirement question you'd like us to address, reach out to us online anytime at matsonfinancial.com. We talk about the issues. We don't shy away from any topic, and that's why I picked a really juicy one to start the show here this week, guys. I noticed recently the U.S. got a grade of C+ for its retirement system under this new international survey from a group called Mercer CFA Institute Global Pension Index. That is a mouthful in itself. Wow. But we are number 29 out of 48 on their list of the countries surveyed. And if you can believe it, at number 1 here on this list is the Netherlands. Now, one thing they point out is the U.S. is missing the pension system that many other countries with higher grades enjoy. Something like the Netherlands, they have a lot of different perks and benefits, at least according to this survey. So how do we make sure our own retirement here is on solid footing? And what do you make of this survey as you look at our C+ grade here?
Oh, you really are getting me fired up here. I see surveys like this all the time, and I immediately see red. Like it burns me a little bit because, yes, Netherlands number 1 as far as security, everything they took into consideration there provides a stable retirement path for their Social Security and their form of Medicare. But what doesn't get factored into these surveys is what are the regular Jimmies and Joes paying for that service in the Netherlands? So when you look at it, and I had to do a little digging on this myself when I saw this, but the tax rates for income tax in the Netherlands is vastly different. So here, you can make up to $94,000 as a married couple, and you're going to be at the top, round about the top of the 12% tax bracket. If you make that same amount, if you make $94,000 in the Netherlands, the first $38,000 gets taxed at just above 9%. Then from $38,000 to $75,000, it goes to just under 37%. And then from $75,000 to $94,000 would get taxed at 50%.
50, like half of everything just goes right back to the government?
Correct. Not to mention other taxes. You get taxed on owning property that's deemed as income, not property taxes. There's that too. But you get taxed for owning a home or even renting. If you rent in the Netherlands, you have to pay a tax.
So they should be number 1 in the world.
Right. There's a lot of money from tax revenue flowing into the Netherlands. And now I will say that they are spending it right. They're providing that benefit. So the citizens are paying it up front, and it does work into their favor as citizens of the Netherlands. I like to have control of my own path, and I would rather keep more of my money because all that money that I'm giving the government to tax, in that situation, am I going to get the return on investment, or I have to live long enough to get that money out?
Right.
But here in the U.S., if I save that money that I don't give them and I have that retirement plan, whatever I don't use, that can pass on to my beneficiaries. It doesn't stop at me. That's the control we like to have, and those are the plans that we come up with, is how do we put your retirement in your control?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we do here at Matson Financial. So we start off with the first appointment, getting to know you, and then we bring you back for the second appointment where we lay out the income report for the clients and know exactly what their expenses are, and we can go line by line, year by year, showing exactly what their income would look like in retirement, because most of the time, you're going to spend the same in retirement as you do during your working years. It's very rare that you pare back on expenses. So that's kind of what we lay out in that second appointment. And those things are always adjustable too. We can adjust, if a client has a big expense year, maybe they have a car payment. They want to buy a new car in the third year of retirement, then we can plan for that. So that's always adjustable.
And that's, I think, the great thing, too, is that, you guys are helping people with that. But also, they don't come to you with this expectation that everything's handed to them for free either. I think that's the problem, Gerald, is you're laying all this out. A lot of people, and we were talking about this before the show today, a lot of people, when you travel or you talk to them, they compare us to other countries and say, wow, over in Europe, they get all this time off, they get to do all these things. But is it really worth the financial trade-off to know that, hey, everything that you worked so hard for would go right back to the government instead of, as what Marcus is talking about here, you taking care of your own retirement? There is something about that self-responsibility that does actually make America and our retirement system pretty great.
Right. That's going to give you the ability to, not to hammer another sports reference, but to call your shot, right? If you want to spend X amount of dollars, that we laid out, like Marcus talked about, great. If you're like, no, I don't need that much. Like, I'm doing everything I want for half that. Great. You don't have to worry about it going away just because you didn't spend it. Either it'll be there for the spouse, it'll be there for your legacy plan, whatever you want to do, or maybe your needs later on get much higher, right? And you don't want to rely on state-sponsored health care. So you have the ability, because you saved enough, that, I'm going to go live at Green Acres or wherever. I just made that up. I don't know if that's a real place or not.
Green Acres is the place to be, I've heard.
I just remember from the Golden Girls. I don't know. That was Shady Pines. It was Shady Pines.
Yes,
That's it.
There was a Green Acres. You are correct on that.
But it gives you the flexibility to do what you want in retirement. That's why you worked. You want to be your own boss, have the flexibility, have the wherewithal to do what you want when you want within reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we want to make sure we're planning for the future and taking control of our future as well. And we're here to help you, along the way to get there.
But guys, it's interesting as we're talking internationally here about different retirement systems. We do have our own Social Security. The current retirees here are going to be getting a 2.5% adjustment in those checks next year, starting in January. Now, for those who are still working, higher income workers will owe more, though, in Social Security taxes.
When I see the Fed coming out every month and they're telling us what inflation has been year over year, and it's steadily at or above 3%. Oh, that's if they factor out, food and energy, the two things Americans spend the most money on,
right?
And it's at 3%. So that tells me if we were to factor in food and energy, it's a lot higher than the 2.5% that they're giving Americans who are collecting Social Security. So they're not quite keeping up, and we feel it when we go to the grocery store. The other side of that is if you are still working and paying into Social Security. So every year, there's a limit on what amount of income is taxable to Social Security. Last year, that limit was right around $168,000, a little higher. So if you as an individual made more than $168,000, you wouldn't have to pay any more Social Security tax. Now that's going up to $176,000. So again, we're going to see that increase across the board. Now, the good news here, where I kind of weigh this, is the tax brackets should adjust for that same type of cost of living adjustment. So if we're seeing income go up and we're seeing taxability on Social Security go up, Social Security payments go up by 2.5, those tax brackets should adjust with it. So just have to see. I haven't seen that those were published yet. But that will be, okay, is the government really trying to do what's right here? Or are they just throwing numbers into a formula and say, okay, here it is?
Right. And maybe sometimes in your specific geographic region, 2.5% cost of living is not quite enough. And maybe it's more like 3.5 or 4% increase just based on the cost of living just in your area. So that's, kind of goes back to the importance of investing early and often and making sure you have a plan in place as far as your income where your portfolio can sustain a higher withdrawal rate and making sure that we're planning for those dollars for the future.
Want weekly lessons from your money mentors? Yes. Hit the subscribe button now and listen every weekend on Wood Radio.
The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or on any specific security. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results. Fee-based financial planning and investment services are offered by Mattson Financial Services, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products and services offered through Lakeview Financial Group, LLC, Mattson Financial Services, LLC, and Lakeview Financial Group are affiliated. To find out if Mattson Financial Services is licensed in your state, please call 800-536-8907.